Sarthak, you can begin now.
Okay, sir. Looking at my screen, I am wonderment. With the collected intellectuals gathered here, I am deeply honored to welcome you all to the second edition of Padma Shri Dr. N.N. Jain National Debate Competition. I, Sarthak Khare, the moderator of the session. A very good noon to all and all present here. Today we have among us Mr. Avinash Singh Sir, Principal Associate at the prestigious law firm Hammurabi and Solomon Partners. His interest lies in the field of competition law, taxation law, and commercial litigation. He has handled both litigation and non-litigation matters of civil, criminal, corporate, and has quality experience appearing before different courts, high court, district courts, consumer forums, and also before arbitral tribunals have handling various arbitrations. We welcome you, sir. We also have Pawan Rele, sir. He is an advocate in Supreme Court of India and is a co-founder of VSPR Associates and NIEV Judicial Education. He has written a book titled Judiciary versus Democracy and Revisiting Four Judges' Case and was honored by Dr. Manmohan Singh, former Prime Minister of India. He also assisted Honorable Supreme Court in the case Supreme Court Advocate on Record versus Union of India and is a leading counsel in case Sejal Avasthi versus Union of India. We welcome you, sir. We also have our faculty coordinator, Mr. Nakul Singh Chauhan, sir, Assistant Professor at Department of Law, PIMR, Indore. It's a boon to students to have you among us, sir. And the Department of Law is really honored to have you among us for the PIMR Padma Shri Dr. N.N. Jain Second National Debate Competition. We welcome you, sir. We are really excited to hear our participant. So the rooms are set and the tables are ready. Let us begin the most awaited Shri Padma Shri Dr. N.N. Jain Second National Debate Competition. Good afternoon, participants. I hope you are well aware about the rules of the competition. Each team will get 7 minutes for speech and 3 minutes for rebuttal. The time will be noted by Devyani Sharma. That is, there is a negative marking fault exceeding time. So please kindly adhere of the time limit. While, while delivering the speech or performing in the competition, please keep an eye on the chat box. All the details regarding the time will be notified on the chat box. Participants are not allowed to reveal their name or their college name. It might be a chance for disqualification from the competition. So with the due permission of judges and faculty, shall we begin?
Yeah, please.
So first for the motion.
For the motion.
Okay.
Am I properly audible to everyone?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Shall I begin, sir?
Yes.
Warm greetings, everyone. This is code NDC 51, and today I'll be speaking for the motion. Now, before I come to my main point that yes, central government do have a primary duty to protect the health of its citizens, I would like to bring everybody's attention to the present governmental structure. We have Ministry of Health and Family Welfare at both levels, union and state, which looks after the healthcare sector in India. It is majorly comprised of two terms, that is health and family welfare. If I talk about the health first, it's a state subject, meaning thereby that the state has a sole authority to make law under the subject matter. Whereas the provisions of family welfare are listed under the concurrent list, authorizing both the governments to make law under this. In India, we have public healthcare system at three levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary. And if I talk about the tertiary level first, it comprises of medical colleges and hospitals. And here is the irony and the biggest lacuna in the constitution. Medical education and medical profession falls under the concurrent list, but hospitals and dispensaries falls under the state list. If we take a close look at the central government healthcare schemes, we will notice that most of its schemes are diverted towards the family welfare, and the sole reason being because it has authority to make laws for it. But even if there is a few primary healthcare schemes, it is ultimately implemented by the state government and it sees bad implementation. And the only reason being that 50% of the powers are shared among state and center, and the rest 50% is rest solely with the state government. And that is why I strongly suggest that the entry 6 of the state list shall be transferred to the concurrent list. And I have my reasons to say so. We all are aware that the central government has more fiscal capacity, has more R&D resources, has more health committees and agencies, and has more negotiating powers. But in spite of having this structure at our union ministry, we are not utilizing it. The sole reason that public health, hospital, dispensaries, and sanitations fall under the state list. Today, we are discussing primary duty. Do we even understand what primary duty is? Primary duty is primary health care, providing primary treatment at the very first level. And for this, at primary level, we have sub-centers and PHCs, and at secondary level, CHCs. But sub-centers are run by the central government, and PHCs and CHCs are run by the state government. And major tertiary level services are also run by the state government. Now, if we look at the state health budget, we will find that major of the funds of the state health budget are diverted towards the tertiary level services. The reason being that the infrastructure and resources that are required there are costly and expensive, disabling and depriving the PHCs and CHCs at primary and secondary level even to perform their functions. Because we have created a well-designed structure for them, but we have failed to equip them with the resources. And we have utterly failed at the management and governance. And that is why I strongly suggest that why it should be transferred to the concurrent list. Because till date, central government is not authorized to make law for public health. Now it will be authorized and under the constitutional obligation to play in the front foot, that now it will not have to work for the public health out of sense of responsibility, but out of a constitutional obligations. And what will help if this matter is transferred to the concurrent? How it will help us? It will help us. The condition of PHCs and CHCs is that they're unable to even get an infrastructure to get the resources. If it will be partially funded by the central government, the burden of the states will be reduced. I'll give two reasons why even the central government comes up with the best of the best policy, it will always have a bad implementation. The very first reason, if the ruling party at the center is not same as the ruling party at the state, there because of the political rivalry, you will not see the day we desire to see in the public health care. And the basic example of this I can give is Bihar, of the state of Bihar. In 2018 and 19, central government allocated rupees 88.5 crore to the state of Bihar to upgrade its PHCs and CHCs. But Bihar was unable to use even 1/3 of what was allocated to it. Bihar is the state that takes 1/3 of the grants from the central government. Look at the conditions of PHCs and CHCs at UP and Bihar. There is a building, no doubt, but there's no infrastructure. There's not even a chair that is placed there that if a person is feeling unconscious can go and sit there. Forget about the lack of healthcare workers. You will find cow dungs and dust in those primary healthcare centers that are locked for years. And the second reason that I was talking about is the intra-state political rivalry. And the very basic example I could give of is the example of Rajasthan government. Till 2013, the party that ruled the state brought a scheme that free medicines will be distributed to each and everyone in the public dispensaries. But after 2013, the government changed and it stopped carrying forward that scheme. And this is the problem. The new governments are not ready to carry forward the schemes, the initiatives that has been brought by the previous governments just because of the political rivalry. And in all these political agendas and rivalries, the public health of the poor suffers. And not only of the poorest of the poor, of everybody. Second biggest problem in our country is that we have a major migration of people. For example, from Rajasthan, because it does not have that corporate infrastructure, it moves, suppose a man from Rajasthan moves to the Mumbai and Delhi. Major population of Rajasthan moves to these places. And now the responsibility of the migrated population, the responsibility of their healthcare falls upon the state government that they are living in. And this is the reason why state gets burdened also. So why I'm saying that central should be authorized, because now if central allocates funds, if central brings the schemes, laws, it will have an authority to make state governments accountable for its implementation. Till date, central government is doing it out of sense of responsibility and not authority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, NDC 51. Now, NDC 30, it's your turn to speak for against the motion.
Oh, yes. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you are audible and visible.
Okay. I will be starting in 3, 2, 1. A very good afternoon to everyone. I strongly stand against the motion. According to me, states play a much more crucial role in protecting the health of the citizens than the center does. And the prevailing pandemic is the best example as to why states cannot depend on centralized policies. Now, my dear friend has brought up the legal framework and the legal governance that's done under the concurrent list and the state list. However, I would suggest that shifting public health to the concurrent list is not the solution, as that challenges the federal structure. Shifting even more subjects from the state to the center would erode India's federal structure and impair efficiency by abandoning the principle of subsidiarity, which holds that any task should be left to the level of government. And when I say level of government, I mean the state as well as local governments as their best place to do it. Secondly, we should trust the spirit of cooperative federalism as laid down in Article 131 of the Constitution. The center must direct its energies to designing policies that would help states deliver on their constitutional mandate. Now, my friend also brought up fiscal capacity. Now, while the center does any day have fiscal capacity and better technical expertise, this only works to a certain extent if decentralization is not done. So, the 7th schedule has made healthcare services the primary responsibility of the state, and that's for good reason. And I propose 2 main reasons why the state should have this duty. Firstly, decentralization is the most effective strategy in a crisis. And secondly, states are better equipped to address subnational variations and health inequality. Coming to my first argument, the pandemic has proved that excessive centralization and top-down control from the beginning of the pandemic has disempowered the states. The center took the responsibility of only declaring national lockdowns, but also procurement of essential equipments and vaccines. This, however, backfired, resulting in states subsequently experiencing shortage of medical safety equipment. In response to this, Odisha state, Shakti self-help groups stitched masks in bulk to avoid any shortage, and each state took charge of their own procurement. And this situation could, however, be avoided if the policy from the very beginning was decentralized. Another instance can be where the center mandated the digital process of vaccination without keeping in mind the marginal section of the society who do not have access to smartphones. The Uttar Pradesh state government, to address the digital divide in rural areas, ensure that more than 93,000 existing service centers will help the people of the rural areas register themselves for the vaccination process. The state ensured that people in villages can physically visit the Jan Suvidha Kendra to apply for the vaccine. Therefore, in these unforeseen shortcomings of national planning, it is the state government that will step in to plug in gaps of national policy. Decentralized health systems have been shown to empower states in health decision-making processes, thus making basic healthcare even more responsive to state needs. An example of this can be the Ayushman Bharat scheme, which was launched by the center in 2018. The scheme aims to provide a coverage of rupees 5 lakh per family annually, and it did not cover 5 states, that is Delhi, Kerala, Odisha, Punjab, and Telangana. They opted out of the scheme. Now, when the Odisha government was asked as to why did you opt out of the scheme, the Odisha government said that it decided to go for its own Biju Swastha Kalyan Yojana. And the reason behind this was that the chief minister said that the Odisha scheme is better than the center as it covers an extra 50 lakh people and it provides rupees 7 lakhs as against rupees 5 lakhs by the central government. Even if you look at the states that were covered under the scheme, they did not derive much benefit from the Ayushman Bharat scheme. India's most populous state, Uttar Pradesh, received treatment for only 975 people, whereas Bihar received only 19 people. Only 19 people received treatment under the scheme. This shows that a uniform strategy does not provide specialized attention that the states across India need. Barring the pandemic, state governments have a much faster response to climate disasters, as seen in Kerala and Odisha. Odisha has a history of successfully fighting Cyclone Amphan and Fani by the government's zero casualty policy for natural disasters, as seen in 2019 and 2020. States also have a stronger chain with local governments and panchayats. Whereas states fail to reach rural areas to mitigate the spread of the disease, then there is the local government and the panchayats that plug in that gap and implement policies according to the demography of the locality. Which comes to my second argument, that states are better equipped to address subnational variations in health inequality. Let's take the example of Dharavi. Dharavi is the largest slum in the world, and in a very short span, it became a COVID hotspot. The BMC followed a quick 40s approach of tracing, tracking, testing, and treating, proactively screening and early sanitation of the community toilets in the slum, helped control the spread of the virus. Now, taking something like Dharavi, where it's like so many people and it's not even sanitary, doing this would be very difficult, and the center would not have a rapid response to this the way the state government did. We live in a time where health is more than just the mere absence of any sickness. It is about mental assurance and securities. We elect our local government, we elect our state government. Anything happens, we have the comfort to approach them. That is what the public will have the comfort to approach them. And this assurity can be ensured by states and local government as they adopt a place-based approach. They adopt a territorially sensitive approach and are better able to navigate local conditions. They're also far more knowledgeable and better positioned to monitor activities at the grassroots level. The best example being Kerala. Kerala was well equipped to handle the COVID crisis as well as the Kerala floods into 2018. The issue that arises is that the center has a bird's eye view to all these disasters, and they cannot be the first cry of help for the public. Even if the center is strategizing a uniform policy towards the crisis, the state government can customize solutions based on climate, custom, and availability of health infrastructure. While the center has responded to crises by announcing several social protection schemes, including direct benefit transfers for certain sections of the population, the large section of the population, I'm talking about urban workers and rural workers, are invisible to the center. This is because there is no single view of who is getting what and who should get what. If we do this, and the states and the local government do have this view, so we need to ensure there is a certain kind of coordination. I'm not talking about decentralization only at the state level. I'm also talking about at the local level. While yes, physical capacity has its benefits and the center does have certain benefits when it comes to strategizing policies, but if we consult states, there will be a much more better way of ensuring efficiency. Therefore, I would like to conclude by saying that the onus of dealing and managing health should be left in the states because they're more likely to ensure an effective management, a rapid response, and a better reach at the tertiary level. Thank you.
Yes, I think.
Thank you, NDC 30.
Yeah, for the motion, do you want to rebut the points?
Yes, sir, we have a 3-minute rebuttal, right?
Yeah, please do it.
Yeah, I would like to use my rebuttal in 2 sections, each of 90 seconds. Am I allowed to do that, sir?
Mr. Khare, is it permissible?
Yes, sir, as per your decision.
Sir, actually, 180 seconds has been allotted for one rebuttal.
Yes.
We cannot break them into two separate rebuttals.
That's what. Yeah. So you cannot break it into rebuttal. You have NDC 51. You have to counter all the points which has been made by NDC 30, and then she will counter you in the limited time.
Sure, sir, no problem.
Okay.
Am I properly audible?
Yes.
Okay. Shall I begin?
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, sir. My worthy opponent said that my worthy opponent said that putting this entry 6 into the concurrent list will damage the federal structure. I would like to remind her that concurrent list is the very example of federalism in our country because it shares this power between state and center. And that is a very good example of decentralization. And that is the reason I did not say that this entry 6 shall be transferred to the union list. I said it shall be transferred to the concurrent list. And the reason is because I know even if the whole health sector is centralized, it won't work again. We will see bad implementation. And this is the thing India needs to understand, that any scheme that central government brings will be ultimately implemented by the state government. But today, the problem of India is that state governments have shortage of funds. My friend said that the role of local government is also there. I would like to remind her that the local governments are the most helpful government because they receive the revenue to execute and implement their development plans from the state government. If the state government is short of funds, how will it? How it helps our current healthcare structure? That is why I said that the central government, if partially funds our primary healthcare institutions, local governments would have a role to play. They are not even playing any role till date because they don't have the sources to play. Thirdly, my friend said that the vaccination has been highly centralized. The equipments during COVID times are highly centralized. And the vaccination, because the most of our population is highly illiterate, they do not know the online processes. I would like to remind her that the governments have started walk-in vaccinations. You can go get yourself vaccinated and you can come back. Central till date is directing. It is out of a sense of responsibility, not out of a sense of an authority. And why I say that the center should have authority, because till date, as I quoted the example of Bihar, Central is allocating the funds, but there is no accountability to the center by the states. Once central government gets the authority, it will ensure that it asks the state that I have allocated funds to you and why are you not using it properly? She used the example of Kerala and Maharashtra. These two states in India are the states which have abundance of resources. And that is one of the reasons that they have able to cope up in the healthcare sector. Talk about the other states that are so poor: Bihar, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh still in resources has a very bad government implementation. So we can clearly see that the state governments having the sole authority for all these years is unable to even see the vision of the healthcare structure, is unable to even implement their own policies. And central government, on the other hand, is trying to direct them. And there where the problem stands. Thank you so much.
Yes, NDC 30.
Oh yes, I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. You brought about the fiscal capacity. Now, I'm not against the fact that the center does have more expenditure, but I gave you the example of the Ayushman Bharat scheme where 5 states opted out. You brought out, I completely agree with you that states in India are completely unequal when it comes to, infrastructure and funding. Maharashtra and Kerala are the richest, whereas Bihar and Uttar Pradesh are not. But when the center has come up with the National Health Mission, and when they're providing funds, why did Odisha and Uttar Pradesh, why did Odisha opt out? Because they had their own scheme which provided more funds and more benefits. Under the 7th schedule, expenditure is one of the duties that the center should be providing to the state. But how that money is used and utilized is something that only falls under the state's ambit. And the state is best equipped to do this. You said that local governments are not, they have had no role in the pandemic. I mean, you did say that, the local governments are best equipped to do this, but because of the current structure of our government, they are not able to. Let me give you the example of Mumbai. Ever since COVID started, Mumbai had a centralized system of COVID wards. So you had to call one helpline and they would come to your reach, and and that's the way they would provide ambulances and assistance to everyone. Then the local government suggested that why don't we have wards, and each ward will have a COVID ward at like a head district. So that would be divided into 24 COVID wards, and that would be more efficient, it's more decentralized, and a much faster rapid response. So today, if I have a problem and if I need to go, I just need to call out the COVID ward and the COVID ward will come here. And after the state was adopted by Mumbai, again, Mumbai being the richest state, that is a disadvantage. But still, this was adopted by most of the other states as well. You also brought up the 3 lists and how the state list, how public health should be in the concurrent list. Now, the problem with that is the exclusive responsibility doesn't fall under the center or the state. So there is a clash of ideas and there is a conflict, because when it comes to funding, the center will be like, oh, the state was supposed to do this, and the state will be like, the center was supposed to do this. So how do you bring harmony in this kind of structure? In my opinion, the current structure is ideal. It's perfect to have public health attributed to the states, because public order as well as public health, because they're on ground. Obviously, the center comes up with policies, which is much better, but it is up to the states to adopt this policy, tweak it according to the state and local needs. So a national policy is more helpful, but it's not binding on the states. The states have to adopt it, see if it's if it's appropriate to their needs as well. On this note, I would like to conclude my arguments. Thank you.
Okay, fine. Yes, so there are a few points of clarification I want to take from both the teams. NDC 51, can you see when you debate this in the national level that the power should rely, or the primary duty to protect the health should rely on the center? Can you cite few examples of any countries where the public health falls on the shoulder of the center? Any country?
Sir, yeah, sure, sir. I read a report from that was through American government, and they said that why America has still failed is because they also follow a kind of federal structure. Now the states still, everywhere that the country that follows a federal structure, you see the reports. The report says that in every country why healthcare sector is failing is just because the states have been given the sole power. Out of sense of responsibility, central governments are doing so. But sir, still today, even in India, central government does not have an authority to make laws regarding public health, hospital and dispensary, because they have solely been put in the state list, being the state subject. Central government in every country is doing out of responsibility because it has certain resources with it which can be used for the benefit of the nation. And in that report, I literally read that once a public health matter should be divided among the center and state, it is a better approach towards the benefit of the country.
Okay. Second question to you, NDC 51, is just a clarification, not a question. That you said that do you agree that COVID was a health emergency in the country? Everyone agrees that, right? So when there is a health emergency and suppose the state government was not able to tackle it, you made the analysis that the power or the responsibility should be shifted from the state to the center, correct? Now I'll give you one example. Because of I'm not saying that you admitted that it was a health emergency.
Sure.
So what I'm trying to say that the ultimate analysis is this, that due to COVID, the state could not handle the situation. COVID, you gave one of the example that state could not handle the situation. So the duty should rely on the center, correct? So for example, during the demonetization, the bank was not able to handle the situation. And banking is a part of the union list. Do you agree that in that way, banking should also be referred to the concurrent list?
No, sir.
Then why? What is the
banking, sir? One line I would like to say, that health is a matter of utmost national importance.
Banking is not.
Let me just finish it, sir. But health is a very state-specific subject, whereas banking, from these years, have been under the control of central government, and demonetization, as some may call it a good step or a bad step, that is a different case. But health is a very different issue from banking, sir. And second of all, as you said that as I said, of concurrent list, so banking should also be under the concurrent list. Why I said health, it should be under the concurrent list, sir. The Supreme Court in the recent COVID suo motu case said, when the central government decentralized the procuration of vaccines upon the states to 25%, Supreme Court scolded the central government only on the basis that Article 1 quotes that India, that is Bharat, shall be the union of states, and you cannot deny the federal structure, and you cannot leave the states in lurch to negotiate with the manufacturers when they don't have that.
I got it as NDC 51. Then you are so much relying on the concurrent list, then everything from the union list, just remove union list and state list, put everything in the concurrent list only.
No.
You want all your powers in the union list. 97 items are there in the union list, but the powers which are there in the state list, you want to take away them and put in the concurrent list. And you know what is the beauty of this? Since just one line I would like to make.
Yeah.
So what you are trying to say is that I will save all the 97 items in the union list, right? Take away some state items and put it in the concurrent list. So according to your wisdom, you have given equal power to the state, right? But when you read articles, so there is one provision called Article 254. When you read Article 254, if center is making any law in that particular item and a state is making law in that particular item, the law made by the center will prevail over the state. Whereas the federalism you are talking about then.
Sir, may I begin, sir?
Please.
The parliamentary law will only supersede over the state legislature only if there are contradictions between the parliamentary law and state law. First reason, sir. And I never said, sir, that put all the items of state list with the concurrent list. Why I say specifically health, sir, because in concurrent list, you have given certain powers to the central government, but those are scattered powers. And that is why today our healthcare sector is suffering so much. You give medical education and medical profession in the concurrent list, but you give hospitals and dispensaries to the states. And due to lack of, sir, we all aware that there are shortage of funds in the hands of the state. And I belong to the state of Rajasthan, and I can see the situation. Although our government has tried to take in certain steps, but still shortage of funds are there. That is why I say that specifically health, because being a matter of national importance, it's a very state-specific subject matter. And this is the only subject matter that needs to go to concurrent list at present.
Okay, just last clarification I want to make. I'm not asking you a question. You said that banking has been there in the union list from the beginning, but not public health. You just made, right? I would like to tell you that public health also has been from the inception when the Government of India Act was formed. It was part of entry number 14 of List 2 in Government of India Act 1935. Then when the Constitutional Assembly debate took place in 1949 volume 2, it was then again debated, but it was again put from the commencement of the constitution under the state list. Okay, so from the beginning itself, both public health has been the part of the state list and banking has been the part of the union list. Oh, okay, thank you so much, NDC 51. It was
With
just
the permission of the judges, I also would like to add one point.
yeah, please.
Yeah. So, like the participant mentioned that the states do not have enough funds to manage such a situation, but there are certain cases, and especially in the recent history, you would see that it's because of the centers that the states don't have the fund. The biggest example being the 2 lakh crore rupees GST due that the center was supposed to give to the states, but it ended up not giving it and saying that it's an act of God. Our finance minister came on screen and said that it's an act of God. But if the state wants the money, which is actually the state's money, they can take it in the form of a loan and we'll charge very minimal interest. So this is one example, but there are certain instances it's where the state is facing financial problems because of the center. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and last question to NDC 30. NDC 30, do you have any idea of about any countries where this solely falls under the state? This public health is a matter of only state?
So I think Canada has a federal structure, and I cannot vouch for whether it completely falls under the state list. But Canada has a structure where the states under it are very well equipped with public health. But that's because also they have the available health infrastructure, and India is in comparison a poor state. So I cannot completely say that they're the best example, but definitely when it comes to federal structure, the government was very well efficient and equipped at the ground level, especially for states.
No, you are right. Canada section 92 subsection 7 provides it. It falls under the ambit of province. So anyway, that's why I wanted to cross check. Okay, so thank you so much. I think Mr. Avinash, if he has some question.
No, I think everything is perfectly covered. I think you covered everything. So it's
okay then.
I think the participants can just leave this thing and we can just discuss just for a minute.
Yes.
So we would also appreciate it if you can give them some feedback on their performance. It will help them improve the quality of their arguments. If, definitely one of them is going to advance to the finals. Yes. It might be helpful to them.
My feedback to them is, I don't know whether they are law students or not. I have just come to know that they are the college students. And being the college student, they're having topics such like this, which is in relation to the center-state relation. It is, let me tell you this with full conviction, that it is one of the most complicated topic in the constitutional law. Entire center-state relation. Okay, even the legal experts sometimes get confused in this particular part. But you have tackled it very well. So I wish you all the best and best of luck. Both of them have tackled it well.
Thank you, sir.
And absolutely, for me also, it's actually a very complicated as well as a very, controversial subject when it comes to center and state. Yes. But all the, the arguments which you gave are totally backed with good reasoning. So all the best to both of you and may the best man wins.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
So what we'll do, sir, is that I'll just propose a formal vote of thanks since we are live on YouTube. Once I propose the vote of thanks, we'll stop the live streaming and then we can discuss whatever we want to discuss and the participants can do. So I, on behalf of Prestige Institute of Management and Research, Department of Law, extend my gratitude to both the judges for sparing their time and being here with us. I know it's a very difficult ask from anyone to judge a competition on a Sunday morning, because that's the only day of the week where you have the luxury to not set an alarm to wake up. So I thank both the judges for being here with us and giving their qualitative inputs to our participants, which will I'm sure help our participants in the future endeavors. I also congratulate both the participants on their exemplary performance. Both of you have done a very good job. And as a non-law faculty, I also got to learn a lot from you guys by listening to your arguments. So all the best to both of you for your bright future. So with this, I declare the second round of semi-finals of second Padma Shri Dr. Nilanjan National Moot Court Competition.